It is Desert Gino. That is right. And today, this is my first live video. All right. So we are here in my house naturally. And, I've been wanting to do a live video for quite some time. Streaming, maybe, right? So this is interesting. So if you're new to the channel, welcome to my channel. If you're a current subscriber, thank you for supporting my channel and my hobbies, all right? So, first off, I want to address a couple things. If you're unfamiliar with my channel, you're probably wondering, why did I choose Desert Gino as my channel name, right? Well, to me, it's obvious, but my name is Gino, and I live in the desert, so hence Desert Gino. So my channel, it's starting to grow a little bit, and I appreciate it. I'm happy that everyone is enjoying my content. I had to remove some of my most featured videos, and in some time, once people get to know me, you'll understand why. I'm going to plan on making more videos live stream, okay? It's just I want to have the audience there. That way we can have some engagement. I'd like to see the comments. I'd like to, have a more personal touch. But today's video, it's a Friday evening, and I'm here in the Mojave Desert. That's where I live. The desert is my passion. It is absolutely my passion, okay? And I want to share that with you. I want to share a little bit about my history. I want to share, what Desert Gino is all about, okay? And a lot of you, maybe you've gone on some of my adventures, and I hope you have seen some of my videos, okay? I take pride in, recording the desert. I take pride in enjoying nature, finding, the beauty out there. This is a great big desert, and there's a lot of beautiful areas out there. And I put some time into it. I could do a little bit better job when it comes to making video quality, but that's going to come in time. I absolutely love making videos, and most importantly, I like taking people along on my journeys as well. Like I said, the desert has always been my passion. Now, I want to give you a little bit about my history, all right? What I'm about. So I'm from Southern California, specifically Orange County, all right? That's where I grew up, and I spent my entirety of my life until I moved out, and, I made my own life. And YouTube, it's a hobby of mine. It's an interesting hobby, and I enjoy it. I enjoy reading certain comments, the good ones. There's a lot of some negativity, but that comes with anything. When you put yourself on a public, forum, you're going to get feedback regardless. You're always going to have people who like you, and you're going to have people who absolutely detest you. So that's just the nature of the game, right? But I'm from Orange County, California, okay? I spent, 20... Well, I left, and I came back, and then I left again. So we'll just say I spent 21 years there, roughly. Or, yeah, about. And I was very fortunate. My parents, they worked very hard. My dad, he owned his own business. He was very successful at that. And he allowed me to have a great life, which I'm grateful for. And, maybe some of you who are watching are from Southern California. And if you happen to be, I would really be interested in exactly where in Southern California, because, that is where I am from. So how it started was like this. My grandparents, okay, they retired in the Palm Springs area, okay? And they lived on a country club, and they moved there a few years before I was born. So when I was born, the desert has always played an important role in my life. And I remember my mom taking me out to see my grandparents, and we would be, driving down the 10 freeway going out to, the Coachella Valley area. And I would see the wind turbines out there. If you've ever visited Palm Springs, you're well aware of that area and its features. And when we were driving, on the 10, I would see the sign Indio over here or Palm Springs, Indio, other desert cities. And I wanted my mom, hey, let's go down Highway 111. I want to go through downtown Palm Springs. I want to, see Palm Springs. And as a kid, Palm Springs, there's other desert cities, Palm Desert, La Quinta, Indian Wells, Rancho Mirage, Cathedral City, Indio, Bermuda Dunes, all of that, right? But Palm Springs was like, the Los Angeles of the Coachella Valley in a sense, even though Indio is bigger, but everything is based out of Palm Springs. We never did. It wasn't until like 2012. I remember spring break 2012. I was in high school, so I'm giving out my age a little bit. But I remember that was such an amazing time. I had such a good time. It was just a really good time. And so from then on, I would go out there regularly, prior to 2012 naturally, but I would go out to my grandparents regularly, and they lived on a beautiful, well-manicured country club. And I remember going out there, and I'm like, wow, the city that they lived in. They didn't live in Palm Springs, but they lived in one of the desert cities out there. And I would always tell myself, wow, this is so beautiful. It's so clean. It's so well landscaped. The medians, right? You're driving down the road, and the medians were just so beautiful, lush, with all sorts of desert vegetation. And I fell in love with that at an early age. And it shaped me to how I am today. And I would always go out there. And keep in mind, from where I lived in Orange County to the Coachella Valley area, it was about an hour and a half when traffic permitted. So it was always a great experience for me. And I remember, if you're, again, familiar with Southern California, I remember when Morongo, the casino, the actual, the tower, and that is the largest building, okay, in Riverside County. That's a fact. And it's the tallest building in Riverside County. It's funny. But I remember when they built that, and people would say, oh, it looks like the top glass structure of it, it looked like a Indian headdress, or I'm sorry, Native American. And I didn't see it, but other people saw it. But anyway, I just had great memories going out that way. And okay, even though I'm like a Vegas guy now, I got a head start, 3 years head start on gambling, okay? Morongo, the Morongo Casino, maybe they've changed it, I don't know. But you could gamble at the time at 18, maybe it's still the same, but it was the only casino that I'm aware of in my area that I grew up in that allowed 18-year-olds to gamble. And it's crazy because in the casinos, you get complimentary drinks if you're playing. So they allowed you to gamble, but you were still 3 years young, too young to have some alcoholic beverages, which I found that to be quite interesting. And there was this one slot machine I loved, absolutely loved it. It was called Ariba. It was one of those progressive slot machines, and every time I played it, it always paid out, and they discontinued it probably because it was a little too generous. But anyway, so I go out to the desert, and desert life is interesting. There's always casinos out in the desert. If you look at like Laughlin, Las Vegas, Coachella Valley area, even in Phoenix. I lived in Phoenix for a while as well when I worked for the federal government. And I had a casino right down the street from me. I lived in a good part. I lived in the city of Phoenix, in a very good area in the foothills. Alone, it was just me. But I had a casino right down the street. And I would always go there with my buddy, John. And John and I, we would always have a good time together. We were both hardworking men. We worked probably 110 hours a week. We were salary employees, but we had a job to do, and we did it well. We were like the dream team. It was him and I. He had his specialty. I had mine. I was the evening finance supervisor, and he handled the morning stuff. I came in a little later, but regardless, him and I, we would, we had some fun times. You think about some good memories, and I want to say this. We're in a government building, just him and I together, and it's this massive building. All right. And he has his family, his wife and children at home, and I'm a single guy, trying to, make my bones. And it was funny because I remember his order too. He liked from Starbucks, a venti. What was it? A venti, like something chocolate chip, whatever. It was just like ridiculous for a grown man to drink. And I'm like, why are you drinking this, John? But whatever. Him and I, we would get a government staff car. We would go out and get some dinner at a local restaurant, to go, or maybe we might sit down in there and we would be, talking, about our job and, grievances, step 1 and 2. We handled that, but we had some fun. We'd come back and we would have our movie night every night too. We're like, all right, we're working hard, but we had this big TV. And he was a movie guy too, and we would always watch movies. And I'm like, John, you have daughters and a wife. Don't you want to get back to them? And he's like, nah, man. Once we're done with this and our work, we're gonna head over to the casino. And I'm like, all right. But anyway, he was a very good provider for his family. But anyway, I'm deviating, but I'm reminiscing on some good memories. Okay. Those were some special times. But anyway, the desert has always been a part of my life, okay? Whether it was from visiting my grandparents in the Coachella Valley, whether it was maybe summer vacations, right? People go, oh, hey, Desert Gino, isn't it hot in the desert in the summer? And I'm like, yeah, it is. But the interesting thing is, as a child, I only visited the desert during the summer. So that's all I knew. Like when I was in school, okay, elementary school and all of that, excuse me, you have Easter, Christmas, and summer vacation. And during, my winter break, I went with my father a lot of times to Las Vegas because one of his friends owns 2 casinos in Las Vegas. So we would go there. He had some work there. So I would spend, Christmas break or whatever, helping my dad with work. I was just tagging along. I wouldn't really say I was helping him, but, those were really good memories because my father did pass away in 2019, and that has been rough for me. After losing him, that was one of the biggest challenges of my life. And, I never appreciated him like I do today, but I was younger and he was significantly older, significantly. I was in my early 20s when he passed away, and he was in his early 70s. So, there was a vast age difference between him and I. And I think about that too. I'm like, putting my mind in his mindset now that I'm starting to age a little bit, that must have been a challenge for him too, having a family at such an old age. But I would go out with him winter break. We'd go out to Vegas. He would do business. He didn't drink, but those were some good memories. So I think about this. There was two times spring vacation, and in Southern California, our spring break was in April. Then it was always moving around too. It was always in the middle of April. Then at some point it was at late April, and then it went to March. But for the longest time, spring break in Orange County, in their public education system, it was always in April during my time. So early 2000s to the teens. But I would occasionally go out on Easter vacation to the Palm Springs area and spend time with my grandparents. And I have to say, that was the best time to be in the Coachella Valley. You still had snow on the San Jacinto, Santa Rosa Mountains. The weather was very nice. It was warm, but not too hot. And you had the snow-capped mountains, and it was beautiful. And that's what enticed me to move out to the desert. And I remember, being in junior highs, telling my buddies, "Hey, come out with me to my grandparents. They live in a country club. It's really nice. I want you to experience the desert and see it." And nobody was interested. They're like, "Tss, the desert, it's boring. It's hot." And I'm like, to each their own, right? So that's kind of what shaped me. Well, it's not kind of, it is. That's what shaped me. So time progressed, right? And I'm getting close to, well, I graduated high school 2 years early. But I decided, hey, I want to move to Arizona, and my family's like, "Why Arizona? Why?" Because it was home to the city of Phoenix, and I'm from the Orange County, Los Angeles area, and I always thought Los Angeles was really small. I wanted to live in a city, with big skyscrapers. For a while, I wanted to move to New York City, and I back home, I used to take Octa, if anyone's familiar with Octa, Orange County Transportation Authority. I made friends with this one bus driver, and my buddies and I, we would just ride the buses going everywhere. Just like, we loved traveling, we loved seeing places. We would go down to the beach, we would go to Los Angeles, and our game was, how far could we go in one day? And later on, we really tested that. When I got my car, it was just ridiculous, okay? And I'm going to get to that. But we would travel the bus system, Okta, Metro, RTA, Omni Transit, Sunbus or Sunline Transit. Like, we really went out far, okay? Like, my home base, I'm not going to give out where I'm from, but we did some traveling. So we would go on the red line. I enjoy going on the red line, the purple line, the gold line, the blue line, just a little bit, just a little. It goes through some rough areas. But I love transit. I love public transportation. I was like all obsessed about public transportation in my teenage years, because it got me to where I wanted to go. And I loved going on Metrolink, not Amtrak, but Metrolink, from my nearest train station, which wasn't that far. It was only like 4 miles away. But I experienced all of that, and at first I wanted to move to New York City or a extremely large metropolitan area, and I'm like, Los Angeles just, it doesn't have that urban city vibe. Um, but then I kind of transitioned to a different mindset. I was like, well, I love the desert. I love the vast openness. I love the topography. I love the different plant life. I love the different animals. I loved all that, right? So I'm like, well, I want to have a big city, type of thing, but I like the desert. So that's what brought me to Phoenix, Arizona. And I lived in Phoenix, Arizona for a couple years, and it was a love-hate relationship. Um, it wasn't the greatest living in Phoenix for a lot of reasons, but at the same time, I had a lot of friends there who we participated in a lot of sports. We participated in a lot of activities. I remember I went to my first football game, tailgating, a lot of NBA games, MMA, boxing fights. What else? We used to go to the shooting range all the time, restaurants, casinos, live entertainment, concerts. So we were really active, and that was great. The other half of it wasn't pleasant. Actually, dealing with the city of Phoenix in a lot of ways. There was at the time crime, but it wasn't like it is, how Phoenix is experiencing crime today. But I couldn't see myself moving to Phoenix again. I really couldn't see myself living in any Arizona city ever again. And it comes down to personal preference as well. At the time, I was never interested in living in the Mojave Desert. I was attracted to the Sonoran Desert, even though the Coachella Valley is technically the Sonoran Desert. It's in a subsection, a subcategory. It's the Colorado Desert, for those who are unfamiliar. But the Coachella Valley is in the Colorado Desert, with also Blythe and a lot of surrounding areas within the Salton Sink. But that's for another time. I was attracted to the saguaros. I was attracted to the greenery of the Sonoran Desert. But as I matured and my understandings matured, I became more attracted to the Mojave Desert for a lot of reasons. It's more bare, but it exposes its beauty a lot more. The mountains are extremely jagged, and they're, especially in the eastern Mojave Desert, eastern Mojave, it's breathtaking. The mesas, the colors, everything about the Mojave Desert is just beautiful. And in the Sonoran Desert, you didn't have like places like Kelso, or places like out in the Silurian Valley, where you have the Dumont Dunes, or Death Valley, where they're home to the Mesquite Sand Dunes, the Eureka Dunes, and the Panamint Dunes, and I've been to all three. So there's a lot of things about the Mojave Desert that I find to be amazing and beautiful. And so when in 2013, that's when I first bought that was my second vehicle. I bought a 2013 brand new Toyota Prius, and it was the top of the line. At the time, I spent, what was it, like $36,000 in 2013. And my buddy and I, my friend, my good friend, him and I, we had a game we would play, and it was how many miles could I put on my car every month. Like we it was like, a video game. I didn't play video games. I was never interested in any of that, but it was like trying to reach a high score. So spring break 2013, it was April. My friend and I graduated early. He's still in school. I'm not. I graduated. I only did 2 years of high school. I was able to do 4 years in 2 years. So it's possible. Um, so I'm he's in he goes on spring break, and he's like, hey, I said, hey, let's do something fun. He's like, all right, and it's early in the morning. It's like 7 in the morning. I'm like, I call him up, and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna swing by your house and let's go do something fun. And I pull up, and he's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, hey, you want to go to Death Valley today? He's like, yeah, I want to go to Death Valley. He goes, my father has been there, and his father was older. He was, in his 60s. Or no, he wasn't in his 60s. What am I saying? He was like in his 50s. He looked like he was 90, though. The guy did not take care of himself. Um, but he goes, yeah, my dad, he went there with his parents at one time when he was really young, and he said how beautiful it was. And my friend didn't, he was financially indignant, which I didn't hold against him or anything, naturally, I wouldn't. But he lived in a studio apartment his entire life with his father, and he never had a bed. He slept on the couch his entire life. He never had a traditional bed. And I said, hey man, let's go. You want to do this? I want to do this. Let's go do it. So we drive out to Death Valley, and we went 15 to the 40 to the 127 to 190. Then we took 190, and then we went through Trona, and then back. We just did a full massive loop, okay? And it was the best experience. So I would put like 5,000 miles one month on my car. Then we're like, oh, okay, well, where can we go next? So we drove to Phoenix for the day. We ate at Subway sandwiches. We drove out there for a Subway sandwich, ate there, turned around, and came back. Then we went there again, and we ate at McDonald's in downtown Phoenix off of, what was it, like 7th Avenue, and I forget the cross street, but I think it was Van Buren, 7th and Van Buren, if I'm not wrong. But we did that, and then we came back. And so then my other buddies and he's telling my other friends, and it was summertime at that point, and they're like, oh man, it's Desert Gino. We gotta go out with him and go on some cool adventures. So we get in my Prius, and we went up to the airplane boneyard in Adelanto, right? We're checking out like all the big jets and all that are out there just chilling in the desert, just like down in Tucson. And then we had fun with that, and they're like, what else? What's else out there? So then we went to what was it? Lancaster. Yeah, Avenue G. That's right, Avenue G. And we were going down the Musical Highway. And it was funny because the Musical Highway was created by Honda for their commercial for the Honda Civic, and that was my prior vehicle before the Toyota Prius. I had a 2009 Honda Civic. So we went on the Musical Highway, and they're like, this is fun. And I'm like, all right, what else? Vegas. We were teenagers, all right? We were like, I was 17, and we're like, all right, let's go to Vegas. Our theme during this era was all about McDonald's. I worked for McDonald's, and we liked eating McDonald's, so we would go to McDonald's. So I'm like, how about we go to McDonald's in the Luxor? And we did. So we drove out to Vegas, and I'm the type of guy, I don't like going on the highways. I like taking the back roads because that's where you're going to see backcountry nature, and it's beautiful. So we we go to Vegas, and then we come back on the most ridiculous road. What was it? We got off on Nipton Road, then we went down like Morning Star Road, Kelso Sema Road. We then what was it? Then we went down Kel Baker Road to what would it be? Not Adobe Road. That would be the next one. Amboy Road, and then we got to Adobe Road. And I remember it's like 10 o'clock at night, and my friend's dad's calling him up, and he's like, you were hanging out with Desert Gino, and you left at like 7 in the morning, and you said you'd only be gone for a couple hours, and now it's like 10:30 at night. Where the hell are you? And we're just racing down the Mojave. We're just like booking it. We're booking it. And he's telling his dad, oh, I'm going to be back in 20 minutes. And I'm like, bro, we're in 29 Palms, and we have to get back to Orange County. We're not going to be back in 20 minutes. So we, at that point, the good memories. So time progresses. I move out to Phoenix. I work for the federal government. I have so many desert memories that are amazing, And, we fast forward, all right, to like kind of the present, okay? And again, I'm doing YouTube as a hobby. I'm doing it as a hobby because if I can convince somebody, you watching, all right, and I say you as a broad term because, I'm here in my, like guest room, making a video right now where, there isn't any interaction, and that's fine. I'm a very small channel, so my expectations aren't really that high. But if you are watching and you find some value in that, then that makes me happy because that's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to change the world. I'm not trying to, do anything, but I'm just trying to tell my story, and that's all, and share my passions. And tomorrow, I'm going to have another fun video that I might live stream. Right now, it's little crickets, maybe, but, we'll see what happens. But I want to tell you this, all right? So I never spent too much time camping, right? I was never I was outdoorsy, but I always wished I could be more active than I was. I would see people, going out in their Jeeps, off-roading, 4x4 and all that, and I drive a Prius, and I'm like, well, I wish I could do that, but my car can't handle that. And I would tell myself, oh man, I would wish to go camping, but I don't have anybody who wants to go with me because, schedules, I moved out to the Mojave, most of my friends didn't. So I'm like, it's one of those. And I got to a mindset probably about 5 years ago where I told myself, just because you're alone doesn't mean that you shouldn't go on these trips by yourself. Sure, it would be nice to have people. Sure, it would be pleasant. But, our schedules didn't align. Most of my friends now, they have families, a wife and kid. Which is great. I'm, a little different because I'm still enjoying living my life. And I want to have these adventures, and I want to go explore, and I want to do all these things. And if I had a family, I couldn't do that, and I shouldn't. So I look at, my passions, and my passions at this stage in my life don't align with me having a family, which is fine. But that's why I started doing YouTube, because I like bringing people along. If they're not with me, I want them to see it, so I enjoy doing that. I'm going to backpedal a little bit 5 years ago. So that was my mantra then. I still wasn't that brave. It took me to 2020, May 2020, where I first solo camped out in the middle of the Mojave Desert, all alone, by myself, no provisions, no flashlight, nothing. I just, like, I bare bones. I enjoyed that experience. And I'm like, wow, this was kind of fun. So then, time progresses a little bit. I didn't get into it that deep, but I'm going out to the desert more and more and more and more because at this point I just moved back from the desert back to Orange County. But I find myself always being in the desert. I find myself always being in nature with some really, really good people who have the same passions for the backcountry outdoors. And that was the key thing too, because I really enjoyed being like Joshua Tree National Park. I love it out there. It's very busy though. That's the thing. I find myself now enjoying the Mojave National Preserve, which doesn't have nearly only a fraction of the visitors, and even to me, it's too busy during, at prime time. And compared to Joshua Tree, it's not even close. I have my mailbox in Death Valley. That's where my mail goes. So if anyone's interested, and if you send a letter, like I tell everybody, if you just address it, Desert Gino, Death Valley, California, 92328. That's all you need. It'll go out there. It'll get in my mailbox. There's not that many people that live out there, and if you send it, it's going to show up to me. Now, I spent a lot of time, as I mentioned, in the desert, and I pretty much covered every single desert city in the Mojave Desert. I haven't spent that much time in the Great Basin Desert, or the Chihuahuan Desert, or the Painted Desert, but in time. Well, actually, not the Painted Desert. I'm not going to go there. But the Great Basin, sure, and probably not the Chihuahuan either, but maybe in time. So recently, I would say within the last year, I got addicted to solo camping out in the Mojave Desert. And a lot of people go, I don't come across as the type of person that one would expect to see camping alone in a very remote part of the desert where there's no cell coverage, there's no radio reception. You're out there. You are like literally out there. All right? Yeah, and that's a loud car too. Out in the Mojave, everyone has to have a loud car. Not me. But anyway, so I strongly encourage you, maybe take a look at my one camping video where, I did that. And a lot of my other passions are I have my road bike. Every morning I used to have this tradition of cycling about 25 miles every morning. Health and fitness is very important to me. Eating, a very healthy diet, that's important. Being your body is your temple as well. That everyone, you've heard that phrase, but I'm very health conscientious. I don't really try and abuse my body, but if you do, that's fine too. I don't hold judgment nor grudges. So if you want to do whatever you want, that's your life, your body, and nobody should tell anybody how to live their life. And I strongly believe in that because, we're all our own person, and what's right for some may not be right for others. Now, I got addicted to solo camping, and that's kind of where I am right now. It's, what is it? November 29th? should have known that, but I had like a little brain fade. It's November 29th, and the weather is very permitting for camping. In fact, it's very cold in some parts of the Mojave Desert, like a hole-in-the-wall campground. That's a favorite spot of mine, or out at the Kelso Dunes, or there's just a lot of great places. It's probably a little too cold right now tonight in Sema, California, where there is a dense Joshua tree forest, and I did a video on that as well. But yeah, there's a lot of great parts of the desert. And that's kind of where I'm at, and I'm getting close to ending the video. If any potential viewers in the future watch the video entirely, I'm kind of getting to a point. And my point is this, I have a lot of stories to tell. Maybe, it might not be that interesting. Maybe it might be. But that's the thing. I would like to take you on my journey. I'd like to, tell my story to you. I would like for you to have some of my experiences, not all of them, because I don't want some of them right now. And I'm going to be opening up about that in the future, okay? Because even though, life is good for me, I have no worries, in a lot of different aspects, but in some ways I am completely scared and terrified. So, we all have, our problems. That's life, whether it's, a family member, financial situations, work, whatever. We all have something, and it could be a combination of both as well. But right now I got my own perfect storm. But that's how it is right now, but we'll see how it pans out. But all I have to say is this. I hope you find interest in my channel. I hope you continue to want to go on my journeys with me. I'm still kind of in this phase, trying to figure out, exactly what to do with my channel, but I decided just be yourself. Just be yourself. And that's all I'm going to do, I'm going to be myself. And I want to take you with me on our desert adventures. I want to show you some cool stuff. And, there's a few other YouTube channels out there as well that I find interest in. And I find a lot of interest in storytelling, history, nature, finance, all sorts of stuff. I'm a avid reader of the Wall Street Journal. I read it cover to cover every morning. I have different hobbies than a lot of people, and a lot of different stories. One story, when I was in Palm Desert, and I'm not going to get into it too much, my grandparents' next door neighbor retired, but he ran a $60 billion company. Yeah, he was the CEO, and I'll get into detail with that in a different video. But so far in my short experience with life, I've had just crazy stories, crazy experiences, crazy adventures. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this YouTube channel, because, it's not only is it fun sharing, it's also fun looking back on it too. It's also fun going, hey, this was a fun time, and, I had a lot of fun. And I'm kind of being a little greedy in a way too, because I like making these videos. That way it's, like my little time capsule looking back at, the things I've done over time. But I want to say this, and this is all I have to say. Please, if you like the desert, if you like some fun stories, if you just like, maybe, if the live streaming, works out well, I'd like to, speak with different people. Maybe you're in a different part of the world. Maybe you're completely on the other side of the world. That's interesting. I would really like to, experience that. I would really like to experience people who have a complete and unique perspective. I have my own story, but you have your own story as well. And that's what I find interest in, because whenever I'm cruising, around the Mojave, I like to go to these small, little, desolate towns that, most people don't drive through because it's so much out of the way. And I like to stop and I like to speak with the people that live there. And I like to understand their perspective. Like this one man who lives in Shoshone, California. And I'm like, you live here? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, where do you get groceries? Well, he has to drive to Pahrump or Vegas. And I'm like, wow, how long have you lived here? I wanted to know his story. Was he weird? Absolutely. This guy was just like a cartoon. But you don't have those experiences. It's like, you got to go out there. You got to put yourself in a situation that's very foreign. You got to, meet these types of people. And, I have a story that stayed in my mind, and that was what? 2020. So the summer of 2020. And, that stayed with me. There's so many interesting, unusual situations. Like one other thing, like I remember going out to Roy's in Amboy, California. And the first time I was there, I was in dire straits. I never went there before. I was just cruising out in the desert and I was almost out of gas. I was like down to just like nothing. And then all of a sudden I get to Roy's and I pull up and it's like this old school gas pump, if you're familiar with Roy's, and this guy comes out and there's nobody out there. Nobody. And I didn't have any cash on me either. Nothing. And I look at him and I'm like, do you take American Express? And a lot of places, some places don't. And I'm thinking, I'm at Roy's in Amboy, California, and all I have is my American Express. And he's like, yeah, we take it. And I'm like, whew, because I would have been in a situation and I would have had to call up somebody and be like, here's where I am. And they're going to be like, where's Roy's? Where's Amboy? Well, have you heard of a place called Ludlow? Maybe, but well, you go down the 40 and then you hit Baker Road, but I didn't go that way. I came from the Palm Springs area, up through 29 Palms, and then Amboy Road. But anyway, the whole thing is I have a lot of stories to tell, and I have a lot of adventures to take you on, and I hope that all of you watching, take some interest and come along on my adventures with me, because that's all I want to do. I just want to show you some beautiful backcountry, some amazing places, and maybe it might not be in the backcountry, maybe it might be in a dense city, but regardless, though, it's an adventure, and that's what life is, all right? And whether you're young or old, whether you're active or not, we all want an adventure. We all want excitement. We all want to see new places, and that is the human element. And I am no different than anybody else. I am just a regular guy who happens to do irregular stuff, and I have definitely irregular hobbies. But I'm still a normal person. I like adventure. I like seeing places. I like talking with people. If I wasn't, social or any of that, I don't think I would have a YouTube channel. I don't think I would have any desire to put myself out there if I didn't want to have a connection. And I do want to have a connection with you. I do. I want to hear everyone's story. I want to know, hey, where are you from right now? What are you doing? What are you doing right now watching Desert Gino? Are you on your lunch break or what? That's the thing, curiosity. And there's nothing wrong with that, because if we weren't curious people, we wouldn't have gone to the moon. We wouldn't want to go to Mars. We wouldn't want to put stuff in space. we wouldn't want to keep exploring the unknown. And that's what my channel is about, exploring, going to places that I've never been, seeing things that I've never seen, and sharing it with you. Well, anyway, that has been my Friday night rant. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you all had a blessed Thanksgiving with your family. I hope that you had a pleasant Thanksgiving, and everything went well, and a happy feast with the turkey. I did. I had a big turkey, and it was amazing. It was great, and I love this time of the year as well, because it's about families coming together. It's about people being grateful and thankful. It's about looking at the year that has progressed and all the things that happened, good and bad. And, we all make mistakes. We all do things. Life happens, and you learn from it. So if you had a bad year, you know what? Hey, there's a new year. If you had a great year, hey, that's even better. So no complaints on that. But just be thankful for what you have. Don't focus on what you don't have. Focus on what you have right now. And, that's all that matters. So anyway, everyone, thank you. I hope you enjoy my stories. I hope you're not bored. I hope, you really, just enjoyed it. And there's going to be naturally more to come, and I hope that I'm going to start putting more stuff out there. I plan on it tomorrow evening. I have a surprise for everybody. Okay, so just be on the lookout. But you're going to see some amazing desert backcountry, I can tell you that. So anyway, everyone, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for taking the time, and I hope to see you soon. And please leave a comment. If you liked it, great. If you have some stories to share, please leave it. I would love to see that. And like always, until the next time. So thank you. All right.